Well, every single House Democrat except one is backing a bill that would require all high schools nationwide to let biological men compete on women's sports teams. Now, to most people, that seems insane. And to female athletes, it is, of course, grossly unfair. But now it's orthodoxy. Science and common sense are irrelevant. The orthodoxy will not be questioned. Meanwhile, a taxpayer-funded study sponsored by the NIH, National Institutes of Health, is allowing sex change hormones to be given to children as young as 8 years old. So what are the effects of that? Do we know? Dr. Marc Siegel is a Fox News medical contributor, and he joins us tonight. Doctor, thanks very much for coming on.
Hi, Tucker.
So whenever you have an advancement in culture that nobody's allowed to question, and then it bleeds over into science, it makes me nervous, no matter what it is, whether I like it or not. I haven't heard a single person ask the obvious question: what is the effect of giving hormone-suppressing drugs voluntarily to children?
I think there's a long-term effect. First of all, puberty blockers, which you start with, like an anti-estrogen or an anti-androgen, that followed by hormone therapy as they enter adolescence, can lead to neurological problems, problems with bone growth, and sterility later on. So that's just the physical issues. There's also the psychological impact and the neurological impact of having transitioned someone that may decide later on that they want to go back the other way. Of course we should support transgender children. Of course we should support a child's choice. And that's what the American Academy of Pediatrics says. But when they talk about giving these drugs, these hormones, I get very nervous. And I think to myself, who's superimposing their will here? Is it doctors or is it parents? Because, again, a child is someone that I want to watch develop. There's no reason to be questioning sexuality and sexual choice in a 9-year-old. We have to wait and see which way it goes.
Yeah, I mean, it almost sounds like Munchausen's by proxy. I mean, it sounds like the parents sort of displacing onto the kid maybe something that's going on with them, or who knows. But it doesn't seem responsible at all, and it seems incredibly risky. It seems demented, to be honest with you. Where are the adults standing up and saying, well, wait a second? You know,
well,
these are
1,100 adults wrote a letter saying we don't agree with the American Academy of Pediatrics. And by the way, your point about Munchausen's by proxy, I think is excellent, because I think parents have guilt. They think, wait a minute, maybe I'm not doing enough. Maybe we really aren't going. This is our culture now, right? We have to listen to every word. But I think our job as parents is to guide, to support, not to be mean or anything, but to support and watch development and progress. I don't think we give drugs, and I don't think we look for doctors that do our bidding for us. There's a long-term effect here.
If you were to stand up at a medical conference and say what you just did, which strikes me as extremely moderate, you know, way more, I mean, right? It doesn't seem controversial what you just said. How would you be received?
Depends on the conference. You know, I have a feeling that the Democratic lawmakers are trying to pander to a certain group, but it depends. Doctors are varied on this issue, and I think a lot of doctors would agree with me, do no harm. We're not dealing with a disease, we're dealing with a developing child. Let them develop, support their psychological development. And by the way, to your earlier point, when we're talking about athletics, I believe it's a competitive advantage to allow someone that is born a male and had all these years of testosterone, building up muscle, right, building up bone, and then we allow them to compete with women. That's giving them a competitive advantage.
Well,
I call that juicing.
Well, of course it is. I mean, that's called biology, but it's being denied by the United States House of Representatives explicitly and by the interest group that is pushing this, and that's shocking to me. Anyway, Doctor, thanks very much for clarity on that. Good to see you.
Thanks, Tucker.